reader, and I trust all is well. So the theme for 2023 is living out loud. Let's hear it for living out loud. And the theme for June is embracing self-care. If you didn't get the message, take it now. Embracing self-care. Today's topic is balancing grief and joy. And Valerie Carr offers this clear-minded perspective on the relationship between love, grief, and joy. She says this: love is more than a feeling. Love is a form of sweet labor, fierce, bloody, imperfect, and life-giving. A choice we make over and over again. If love is sweet labor, love can be taught, modeled, and practiced. This labor engages all of our emotions. Joy is the gift of love, as grief is the price of love. Anger protects that which is loved, and when we think we have reached our limit, wonder is the act that returns us to love. Such a beautiful quote, so complete. So let us affirm mindfully together. I now release all that no longer serves me, and I choose to embrace joy. And I now welcome Reverend Dr. Kathleen Johnson, who will wow us for sure.
Living out loud. Embracing self-care. I love the term radical self-care, which reminds us to be really radical about it and do our very best. So this month, we shower ourselves in love. That's what self-care is, right? Showering ourselves in love. And it's a healing power, the healing power of love. So as we embrace self-care, I invite you to do it on all levels. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. All levels. All that means to you. And that is something really to contemplate. How do I practice self-care on all of those levels? And understanding the hierarchy of needs of Maslow. How many of you have heard of that before? Yeah, the hierarchy of needs. It's really important to take care of the physical, the needs of the physical body, shelter, food, and financial well-being, all of those things that support us. Because when we take care of those needs, then we offer ourselves, and also the mental and the emotional, we offer ourselves a beautiful temple in which the spirit, which is who we are, that's our true identity, in which the spirit can thrive and grow and expand and unfold and continue to spread the gifts of the Spirit in every aspect of our lives. And therefore, we're able to more fully show up as our unique, individualized selves and give the gifts in service, in love to all of those around us, fulfilling our purpose. So again, ultimately, it's all about love. It's all about love. All of the emotions, think about it. We are the vibration of love. That is the vibration of the divine. And so in that field of love, there's the full range of emotions. And it's important then to keep those range of emotions in service to love instead of fear. And that's what this is really all about, this entire month, is keeping every aspect of our lives in service to love. So think about it. Grief then can be used as a catalyst for growing in love. And joy is not only a gift of love, but it's a healing power. It heals. So today, I'm going to invite you to face and put to rest any unhealthy patterns around grief, particularly suppression of emotions. and instead to embrace the life-affirming approaches to grief that really support us and serve us and help us grow. And also to stay in balance during grief work by giving ourselves moments of joy and laughter without feeling guilty. Like we're not being of service to the one that we're grieving for. Yeah, there's a lot of clicking going on, isn't there? Yeah, I know. Well, okay, so the habit of suppressing grief. It's cultural. It's in this culture. This habit of looking the other way when grief comes along. So let's take a look at what grief is. It's an emotional reaction to loss. The loss of someone or something that we have greatly loved or valued. And so usually what comes to mind is death. You know, the type of loss is either death or divorce. You know, those are the most common things people think of. But there are so many other kinds of loss that trigger grief reactions. So let's look at some. Job or financial loss. Loss experienced as a result of climate change, natural disasters, moving, graduation, major health challenges, and retirement. Those are some of them. And some of the symptoms of grief that sometimes people don't realize are connected: trouble concentrating, numbness, emotional swings, and changes in sleep habits. And there are others, but those are some of the key ones. And sometimes they're misdiagnosed. If somebody doesn't realize that you're in a state of grief, you start, rather than dealing with the grief, start just taking care of the symptoms with medication. So that's why it's important to understand this thing called grief, its effects on our lives, and what we can do to move through it and use it for good, for greater good. So while grief is neither good nor bad, it's part of our human experience. It is painful, and so kind of natural that people want to run the other way and suppress it, not deal with it. Like, let's get on with my life and not have to deal with this emotion. However, it does cause physical issues if we don't address it. There's a story by Jane Goodall in her book called The Book of Hope. It's a story about a woman by the name of Ashley Consolo, who works with Inuit communities in Canada that have been impacted by climate change. She was interviewing the communities about all the things that they were losing due to climate change and due to, therefore, the rising temperatures, the ice breaking up and fires burning. They were losing plants, animals, and an entire way of life. As Ashley was trying to write about these stories of despair in her dissertation, she had to stop because excruciating severe pain was radiating through her arms and her hands. She couldn't type. So she went to all kinds of medical experts. Nobody could find anything wrong. So then she decided to go to one of the elders in the Inuit tribe. And this is what he said. He said, "You're not letting go of your grief. Your body is stopping you from typing because you're intellectualizing it instead of feeling it. Until you get it out of your body won't function. Make space for your grief, speak it, feel it, and also find awe and joy in every day." There it is. There's our topic, right, for today, balancing grief with joy. So she went into the forest to an ice-cold stream, put her hands in the stream, and asked the stream to take the pain away. And then she apologized to the land and apologized for herself and for all other fellow humans who were causing the issues. And then following that, 2 weeks of crying, I can totally identify. That's what happened with me right after my father's death. I sobbed for 2 solid weeks, almost nonstop. Powerful. It's a powerful experience. Painful experience. So in 2 weeks of crying, she let the grief flow out of her body, and guess what? The nerve pain was gone. So the way through grief, then, is to face it, deal with it, feel it. Our culture has ways of dealing with grief, however, that don't do that, that suppress it instead and actually cause self-harming. And in the book called Grief Recovery by John James and Russell Friedman, they list 6 myths that cause suppression and avoid pain, avoid grief, I should say. The first one is, don't feel bad. You know, you either tell yourself or somebody tells you, don't feel bad. This will all pass. So in other words, don't feel your feelings. The second one is to replace the loss. Oh, our puppy died, our dog died. Let's get you a new puppy. You know, replacing. Or yeah, you know, I know you're no longer dating this person of like a million years, but or they died or whatever. But just go out and find somebody new. So that idea of replacing. The next one is let's leave her alone. Let her just grieve alone, or feeling like you need to get by yourself and grieve alone. The next one is give it time. The idea that somehow time heals. And it's not time that heals, it's the inner work that we do that heals. Yeah, the next one is be strong for others. Put on a happy face. That is the Academy Award type persona, you know. Put on a happy face. And the final one is keep busy. I can identify with that one. Keep busy. Just keep busy, and it'll pass. Well, we know that these don't work. They've been proven not to work. And this book, Grief Recovery, which is the book that's used in Reverend Diane's online Zoom grief recovery groups, is evidence-based. It's powerful. It shows that it does help people move through grief. So grief then can be a messenger. And a messenger that we all need to catapult us into the next greater expression of who we are, as love, as peace, as joy, as wisdom, as intelligence, as the divine presence. And so the most important activity that we can do while grieving is to be with it, as Ashley finally demonstrated. To be with it instead of pushing it away, ignoring it, or pretending like it's not there. Grief recovery groups are places to face and be with your grief, a place to process it using evidence-based exercises that help identify events and feelings around loss. So we literally look at our relationship, our entire lengthy relationship with the person that we've lost, if it happens to be a person or whatever it is, and the feelings that are related to various events along the timeline, feeling the feelings, writing about them, sharing stories of them with a partner. And it was great. I had a partner that was from California, somebody I didn't know, and we still stay connected if there's another worksheet, a couple worksheets that we decide to do on a new area of grief, and read our what's called the letter of completion. After we do the work, there's a letter of completion that gets written, but it includes forgiving ourselves and others as well, not only feeling our feelings, but doing the forgiveness work, and therefore freeing ourselves of the consequences of grief. And so, I know I'm promoting somebody's work, but I felt it to be so profound for me that I want all of you just to be aware of it. We have quite a few other people in our community who participated in these groups as well, and have shared really wonderful breakthroughs. To this, I would like to add, in terms of grief recovery, the healing power of spiritual practice, your meditation practice daily, the healing power of spiritual mind treatment, the affirmative prayer that we teach, the healing power of visioning, another practice that we teach, journaling. I know you have your various ways of doing your spiritual practice. And then in addition to that, I would like to add that we have circles, and we have a men's circle that's starting soon to support the men. We have classes. We have many, many ways. Practitioners, oh my goodness. We have licensed practitioners who are trained to support you through your trying times. So the support is here. So it's really up to each and every one of you to reach out and receive it. By all means, don't grieve alone. By all means, don't grieve alone. The Dalai Lama, in his book called The Book of Joy, I loved that book. It was such a great book. He said, the way through sadness and grief that comes from great loss is to use it as a motivation to generate a deeper sense of purpose. Again, using it in service to love. I'd like to share a story with you. The story about Jenna Fornell, who lost her son, Ollie, who was 8 years old at the time, in 2019. And what she did is she turned to gardening to deal with her grief. And now she feeds an entire community in the Alexandria, Virginia area by putting produce out in her front yard for free, but also in the off season making muffins and bread and things like that to give away to the community. And so she says she keeps Ollie's spirit of loving kindness alive in this way for her. And one neighbor called it a beautiful bounty of generosity. Let's breathe. Using our grief in service to love. The final thing I wanted to talk about is the balancing of grief and joy. So the good news is, as spiritual beings, we have the power of creation available to us. And joy is very much a part of our being, just as love is. So even in very trying times, we have the ability, each one of us has the ability to align with joy, to feel joy in the midst of grief. It doesn't mean that we suppress the grief, but we give ourselves moments of joy. And so you can activate joy, you can support it through self-care. I'm going to keep bringing it back to self-care. Our practice of staying connected with the divine truth of our being, the source of our being, is so important for accessing these qualities of the divine. So what kind of self-care brings you joy? Think about it. Take a moment, think about it. What kind of self-care brings you joy? So when we allow joy to rise up from within us, in laughter, however it shows up, we are providing an avenue through which healing can take place. So it's a wonderful way to balance the grief and allow more healing through. So we don't avoid the grief, but we give ourselves moments of joy. Another story. This story really touched me deeply. So it's the spectators of a Rockies and Dodgers baseball game witnessed a very touching moment that had little to do with baseball. Jose Iglesias of the Rockies hit the ball, ran to first base, and then broke down in emotion. So what many people knew at that point in time is that this was the first game since his father had passed away. And so what happened? This is so beautiful. The opposite team, Dodgers first baseman Freddie Freeman, who understood Jose's grief, hugged him and consoled him. And when he was interviewed, Friedman said, "I just tried to be there for him, to be kind and to have compassion." So that's what we can offer each other in trying times. And we can offer ourselves self-compassion through self-care. Self-care is feeling our grief instead of suppressing it and doing the deep inner work. Self-care is when we keep up with our daily spiritual practice. Self-care is when we receive compassion and support from others. And it is self-care to allow ourselves moments of joy and laughter. Yes, even in the face of grief. Let's turn within. And so in this beautiful moment of awareness of the power, the glory, the magnificence, the grace, and yes, the infinite love of the divine right here where I am, right here where each of us is, I'm taking this opportunity to remind myself of who I am, who we are, which are individualizations of that one glorious, magnificent presence of love. That we are born of love and that we are the vibrational frequency of love at the very core of our being. Our essence, our essential nature is love. And so I am now calling upon that deep awareness of love's presence for the importance of expression of love, self-love, through self-care. I am calling upon each person present here today to awaken to the importance of love and self-love and putting it on the priority list of what happens each and every day. For I know that as we care for our body's needs, as we care for our mental needs and our emotional needs, that the spirit has the energy and the strength to thrive and grow and expand and unfold into a greater expression of who it is in this time-space reality, in this human expression. And therefore, delivering our gifts and our talents in service to the greater good. And so I'm so grateful for knowing that there is an awakening here taking place on the part of each and every one of us, a greater commitment to self-care, understanding that we have to put our masks on ourselves first before we can truly be available for others, coming from the overflow of that times of spiritual practice and spiritual grounding. So I celebrate this awakening, this awareness of our entire community to self-care now just being what we do. This is just part of our culture. I'm knowing this about each and every one of us. And so it is with a heart full of joy and gratitude and conviction that I release this word to the omni-action of universal law, the very law of God that takes this word and acts upon it and brings it into beautiful and radiant expression. And so I invite all of us to participate in receiving the truth of this word with a powerful yes! And so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you.